Hello, everyone, and welcome to Datapads and Darksabers, the Star Wars Book Club hosted by myself, Clone Force 97, and my buddy Wrath of Mandalore. Together, we're diving into the entire Star Wars timeline, both canon and legends, starting from the very beginning with Dawn of the Jedi. Whether you're a lifelong reader or picking up your first Star Wars novel, this is the place to explore the galaxy one page at a time. Today, we're kicking things off with part 1 of Dawn of the Jedi, covering chapters 1, 2, and 3, and I'm really excited to jump into this journey with you all. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Wrath to get us started. That's good. This is, liking books is the number one thing to start doing a book club, so I congratulate you for that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be a good time. I've read through this book at least up to chapter 12 previously, and now I'm remembering why I stopped reading this book.
Yeah, this one.
It's a slow burner.
This one has been slow. I really, when I was like, hey, we're going to just start with the first 3 chapters instead of the first 5, it was like, I was done. I don't want to read anymore.
Yeah, I think I texted you, yesterday? Or no, I texted you earlier today, and I was like, we're up to chapter 5, right? And you were like, I mean, I'm cool stopping at 3.
I don't want to do it anymore. And that's just because I was really hoping to get, into the primitive people of the galaxy. Either compare it to the Neanderthals, or you can compare it to ancient Egyptians, something of that era where we're not having ships and hollow pads and blasters and all that stuff.
Right.
And we're diving more into the religion of the Force, which we are kind of doing, but the galaxy's already too advanced, in my opinion, from where we've started.
Right. I mean,
and this is what? It was 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, and we have everything so far but lightsabers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. This is such an old book. Not old in terms of our timeline, but this book takes place at 25,793 BBY. So it's kind of interesting. It's we have all that shit this early.
Yeah.
So the only thing changing between this book and current day or Old Republic is literally that we have lightsabers and that there's a Siths and Jedi. That's the only thing changing, in my opinion. I think.
Because
I don't know. We might hear something different here, but
right now, everybody who's a Force user is a ranger or a master of the Jedi religion, which is JED apostrophe AII or something like that.
JE apostrophe DAII.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Get your shit straight. This guy can't read.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they talk about Force temples in this book. And in the first chapter, you see it. They are essentially born on a planet called Tython. And they're at a temple called Bodhi, which is Bodhi Rook. But it's the Jedi Temple of the Arts. So it's her father and her mother are both teachers at that temple, but one of them's a poet, musician, and whatever, and then her dad's a sculptor. So they're not even fucking real Jedi. It's almost an entire cultural thing. And it's interesting because it's separated by skills and trades and then combat and shit. And so it seems the only difference in this structure, because they still have the same structure, their Padawan journeys, and then this journey that they're going on in this book is called the Great Journey, which is essentially the transition from Padawan to Jedi Ranger. And then I guess the Jedi Rangers become masters, but it doesn't really have a word for pre-Padawans other than I guess they would be younglings.
Yeah, I didn't see anything for that, but yeah, they have different paths that they have to take. Right now, and another thing, if anybody's reading this book and gonna read along with us, for some reason, they don't like giving vowels to certain characters. So the main character, her name is Lenore, but her brother's name is Dale, and that's spelled D-A-L. And the other guy's name is Tree. Now, he's not a Force user. He's a Twi'lek.
He's just a Twi'lek gangbanger.
But his name is spelled Trey, T-R-E. So I think that was a little interesting, but they have to go on different journeys to different temples. And the one thing that they do when they go to like really learn how to use the Force is they're not supposed to fly there. Like, again, that we already have ships.
Right.
They want them to walk because like it's a dangerous path and people can lose their way and even die along this journey, but they want people to learn everything that's out there in terms of the Force. So it really dives deep into that aspect. So like Lenore and Dale are on their way to this other temple. It's called Kegon Kesh to learn, which is the temple of the Force, and that's
It's
what's
like
going
the
to teach them all their
combat.
Force skills.
Yeah, Force skills and like combat, I assume, because we're sitting here in chapter 1 and it starts in the past where she's having like a dream, and then it comes to present day. But on this journey where it goes back in chapter 2, they talk about how it's like a fucking 4-day walk. Yeah, they're like children still. So her brother is 9 and that makes her 11.
Yeah, they're 2 years apart.
And so they've only done like a couple years of this stuff, and then I think they're in their mid-20s when they go on this journey, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So it says 40 days and 2,400 kilometers from home to another continent through forests and the desert to get to this temple called Kegon Kesh.
Yeah, and they're like, "Don't fly," which was wild. But yeah, like you said, the first chapter here starts off being in the past, and there's a moment between Lenore and Dale where she literally says, "So I think she read his mind," which is
Yes.
something he really does not like. And he says, "I
Yeah.
told you never to do that to me," and I have it like actually highlighted here.
Yep.
He says he stands and turns around and he looks furious. And just for a moment, there's a fire in his eye that she doesn't like because she's seen those flames before, and she actually carries the scar tissue in her lower lip to prove it. And
Right.
the fire in the eyes, I was wondering because like this is early on, there's no Jedi, no Sith. I was wondering if the fire in the eye is just anger, or is he
Right.
actually having Sith eyes in these moments?
Well, I don't think it's technically Sith eyes because we're not Sith and Jedi yet.
Yeah.
What I think is at the most primitive nature in the beginning of this book is we're seeing there's light side of the Force and dark side of the Force, right? And they mention it being like the two moons of Tython. Bogon is the light moon and Ashla is the dark moon. So
Yeah.
Bogon creates light on the planet and Ashla darkens it. And I think the interesting thing too is like you reading in here, she's got both light and dark in her, and then he's got dark in him and is not connected to the Force really. So he's kind of like that like dumb little brother who's angsty and like he just resents the Force already at such a young age. And it kind of just like it's weird because they both seem like they're their own like individual like Lone Ranger type people. And when she was younger, she wanted to be connected with him, and then shit happened.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that they showed here was and it's pretty much the main story that we are going to follow here is that the brother does not like being told what to do. He has the urge to be his own master and to follow his own path and to do what he wants kind of when he wants to do it. From the way I was reading it, it wasn't that he was disconnected from the Force, it's just that he actively doesn't want to do the training that he doesn't want to do. So like when they're at Kegon Kesh, the main master there, which I don't have their name written down, but the main master does not speak. Like
initially, yeah.
Yeah, Lenore speaks and the master responds by using the Force to communicate.
Right.
And that's when she notices like, oh, he can't do it. But from what I'm able to discern from these early chapters, it's not that he can't, it's just that he won't. And like, so he hates people being in his mind. Like that's pretty much what happens here in this early chapter. I just put that he's going to be a problem. And then later in that first chapter, she comes back to life. And then it literally says with Dale dead, like, cause she was going back to meet her parents. With Dale dead, she's now their only child. And I immediately wrote, I was like,
he's gonna be back.
Well, that's what I wrote. I was like, I know he's not dead. Like, I know this is going to be one of those things where he faked his death for some reason, obviously with dark intentions. they use the word dark matter when people are doing stuff that's like more sinister. And then the other one who she's working with now is Damn
Dan
Powell.
Powell. Yeah. So interesting. But I feel, why don't we just get into it and start, I guess, kind of recapping the whole thing.
Are you frustrated with trying to organize and track your growing Star Wars novel collection? Then track every canon and Legends title with the Cantina Archive. Discover the full Star Wars saga in order. Use before or after the Battle of Yavin, or release view to follow every story from the beginning onward. Stay organized by tracking what you've read, listened to, or want to collect. One tap and your galactic library is up to date. Highlight your current read and browse upcoming releases to stay ahead of the galaxy's publishing schedule. Ready to master your Star Wars collection? Then download the Cantina Archive today.
Yeah, well, I think we've recapped pretty much what you need to know in chapter 1. She's telling you pretty much about their life with her and Dale and how they they play and different stuff like that, and how he has this ambition for other things. And then it kind of just leads up to her waking up. She's on this mission. She's just been called back to Tython. She's been out
Right.
for a while.
I think she's been out for 4 years is what it was saying.
I think so.
And in that time, I wrote an interesting note in the beginning here, right? Yeah, because it started, well, this is mid-meeting, but it's a little flashback in the meeting with the Jedi Council. She said her times out like in the galaxy. She brokered a peace deal on a planet, did something that saved a bunch of lives on a planet called Nox, and then diffused a Wookiee warlord's like civil war on Skagora. So the note that I wrote initially was like the Jedi are still peacekeepers in this story, but they kill when there's no other options. So like she has killed people when she goes on these missions, and it's not like a seek and destroy.
Yeah, because in this early time there is no Jedi and there is no Sith. They are just the
Force
Jedi,
users.
and they are Force users, and they use both sides of the Force, but they use it ultimately for good.
Right.
And then she gets all these different missions while she's out, but she hasn't been back to Tython in the 4 years. And the reason why she's back here, I have it like the Jedi Council ordering her to come back to Tython can only mean one thing.
Yep.
That they have a mission for her, but it's so important that they need to discuss it face to face. It's Master Damn Powell who has the real information there that, hey, the person that you're actually looking for, because they kind of speak
right after that mission, I wrote brother.
Yeah, they're kind of speaking about somebody who wants to use, what are they called? The Gree?
Yeah, I think they eventually call them the Gree, but they said something about, give me 1 second, I got it written down here. They're in like the covert mission, and it's actually interesting. One of the Jedi Masters is a person named Xiang or Shang. She's a female Sith species who learned under her father and mother at the temple, and now she's a teacher.
Yeah, it says pressing matters beg discussion, and then it says dark, like they call it dark matters.
Yeah, it's they're talking about this device that will essentially somebody, quote unquote, before we learn it's actually her brother, is seeking to get out of the system, the they call it Tythan system or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're going to use this technology to do so, but in order to power it, they say that it's fueled by dark matter. And that's what they're concerned about, is that if people start using dark matter, because it's harnessed through arcane means, it's forbidden, dreaded. It's the most dangerous element known to us, and which no Jedi would ever dare attempt to capture or create. So they're trying to use this hypergate.
That's what I was looking for right now,
Yeah.
was the name of the device that they were calling it.
And then later down, the other master that talks in this meeting, because there's like 6 of them there and 2 of them actually speak. The Wookiee doesn't speak at all. He just kind of like gets pissed that she tries to, they call it probing the mind, but really what it is like some kind of like forced telepathy, I think.
Yeah.
But they go, we hear whispers of an organization, loose collection of people calling themselves stargazers. So whoever these people are comes out in the 3rd chapter. They're talking about like ancient greed technologies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering, and I don't know if you've read the new Thrawn trilogies, like the Thrawn Ascendancy, but I was wondering if stargazers have the same abilities of what the Chiss call Skywalkers, which that's why Thrawn has like an like a fascination with Anakin because his last name's Skywalker. They used the Skywalkers as people who were able to get from the unknown regions to like the galaxy or whatever, or travel in dangerous hyperspace lanes. So they can kind of like see different things. And I was like, I'm wondering if that's what the stargazers are for too. But then the other thing about the hypergates is that the person's like the hypergate hasn't existed. It's a tale,
Right.
but in every
But then they
myth,
want to go find it.
yeah, in every myth, there's a little bit of truth.
Right.
Like they're like, you need to check this out because even though Lenore is like, but there's no hypergate on Tython.
Yeah.
And then she said, only tales of one deep in the old city, but they're just that, tales.
And then
then
she's-
La Mi says, but some people will chase a tale as far and as hard as they can and seek to make it real.
Right.
And then he says, we have the intelligence that this man is doing such a thing. He believes there's a hypergate deep beneath the ruins. And that's what they kept referring to this person as, was the man. And the person who gives her this data card or a holo to take to her
Damn
ship,
hell.
that's the person that says, hey, the person that we're looking at is your brother. Like, you thought he died 9 years ago. He didn't.
Yeah. She says Dale died, Dalian, whatever you want to,
Yeah.
the alien, the rapper, the baby,
Yeah.
died 9 years ago. And then the Sith lady goes, you found no body. And then she says, I found his clothing shredded, bloodied. And Lami responds, we have no reason to doubt our sources.
Yep.
And she argues with them.
Yeah, she's like, I have no reason to believe them.
Yeah. And then they all were quiet, and she goes, your reason is any small element of doubt that exists over your brother's death. Your reason is that if this is true, he might be a threat to Tython. Your brother might destroy everything you love. Because essentially what they're saying is that if the hypergate is started up with this dark matter, it'll create a dark black hole in a sorts that will not only destroy Tython, but like the entire star system.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting as well because, like, the way I was kind of reading this, I was kind of relating to like what they're trying to avoid happening with like the Jedi and the Hypergate and like people trying to leave to go to the rest of what we know as the known galaxy. You ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? Like where they talk about the first Avatar and how like there used to be this being that gave people elements to use for work, but then they would take them back. But then there was this person who like kept it, and then like that person later becomes the first Avatar. And I was like, that's kind of like what I was feeling was happening. Her brother Dale is going to try to leave Tython for the known galaxy and pretty much spawn what we know today as the Jedi and the Sith and stuff like that. And I'm assuming, this is a very early assumption, like we're only 3 chapters in. I'm assuming that not only does he succeed, but I think Lenore goes with him.
Yeah. I think that they're going to team up here. And she's going to abandon the Jedi.
Yeah.
And then maybe it ends in the culmination of like her becoming a good Force user and him starting to Sith.
Yep. And now they're actually the brother and the daughter. I was actually wondering that, like, with everybody who's read like the Heir to the Empire stuff. I think it's in the Heir to the Empire. But what's the mother's name?
Sandra.
No, not in. I mean, like, there's the father, the son, and the daughter, and then there's the Abeloth. Like, is this predating the Abeloth stuff, or has that already happened and they're Nexus beings?
Probably should be, but I don't think, because this is one system that I don't think even, I mean, it's Legends, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of this shit actually even exists in like the current Star Wars galaxy, or if it's like separate from that star system is what it seems like.
Yeah, and honestly, with the way that this is going so far, and it could totally pick up and change, and I'll eat crow if it happens, but like honestly, I'm glad this is probably one of the last Legends novels that was made. Because this came out in 2013. Which is funny.
Well, and
this is
from what
rated
I've
like
been
3.8.
reading online, what I've been reading online is that this is just a like, so there was a comic series called Dawn of the Jedi, and then they made this book as like a prelude, but it's following a different character than the Dawn of the Jedi. So Lucasfilm, Del Rey, we'll see. But that probably has some reason to do with why it's so fucking miscombobulated.
I feel like that's just probably a new cover because I think all of them have the Disney logo now.
Yeah.
Because this does have an essential Legends covers that like you see with talking about like the newer like minimalistic black ones.
Yeah, it does. Here, let me
Like they did it for Revan, and then
yeah, let me show you.
well, actually, I know that they have one because the audiobook uses that cover, and it looks kind of. I think it's funny that that she's like so
Yeah,
like
here it is.
absolute with it. Like I found this clothes, he's definitely dead, and I think they actually tell her to be wary of like absolutism.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like from what we know of the Jedi, like second. Here, I'll pull it up here. This is that cover you're talking about. From what we know of the Jedi, like she literally in here, it was stating like she is so hell-bent on like not failing her brother again, which is why I feel like they team up. She said in this part, like she was like, I failed to save him once, and she's like talking about how she'll do anything to not fail him again.
Also, I think the other thing to go with what you were saying about like they're light and dark side users, like they kill if they have to. Lenore literally tells them he won't come back, and if it's really him, he'll never return after so long.
Right.
So young when he died, but even then he was growing to hate the Jedi. That's what Zhang says. It says all the more reason to bring him back. And then Lenore goes, and if he refuses,
And
Lami
they're
just
just like,
goes,
kill him.
well, Lami says, you're a Jedi Ranger. And they were like, they knew that that was answer enough. Like,
Yeah.
and that was saying, like, I will do what I must.
Yeah. So the part I'm saying here is she was torn by her emotions, going back to the ship, her purpose and outlook, but her personal involvement might be her greatest asset, which is a change. She goes, because she had failed to save her brother's life once, she would not let him go again. She would do everything she could to save Dale from danger and damnation, and that determination would serve her mission well. But she knew that it might also compromise her assignment.
I feel like that's the common thing in Star Wars nowadays that everybody has to be saved.
Yeah.
I wish we actually got to the point, and
the
this is a
other
little off
interest-
topic. Like, I just wish we got to the point that, like, sometimes, like, you just don't save. It's nice and it's fun and it's heartwarming that everybody gets a redemption arc, but, like, what if they just died?
Let nature take its course. The interesting part that I saw in here too, right before that meeting with the Jedi Masters and the Council or whatever they want to call it, she was like kissing ass to Dan Powell, and it said something about the Jedi oath, right? So she said, I honor the Force as well as I can. I am the mystery of darkness in balance with chaos and harmony. She smiled as she quoted from the Jedi oath. That's a little weird. And then the other thing that they are always saying to each other, which has been adapted too, and it's kind of interesting why they wrote it this way, knowing that this came out in 2013 and it's a flash to the past.
Yeah.
Whenever they're talking to each other and they say goodbye, they go, may the Force go with you, which is different.
I thought that was an interesting one, and I was trying to, like, think of why would the Force go with them instead of being with them, but that has something to do with what I said, like, a little bit earlier. Right now, the Force isn't with them. They can either choose to go with the Force or push against it. The Force is guiding them, which is, I know sounds contradictory to what I just said, but like they either have two choices. Either they can push against it and it's going to punish them, or they can go with it. And that's why it says like, may the Force go with you. Because if you push back, then it's going to create issues in your life. There was something else I was trying to find here that was interesting with
the other thing that I had too is like she's so connected and like in tune with the Force, and it literally says at the end of chapter 1 here, before she gets that note from secrecy from Dan Powell, she goes, with her and Dale it had been so different. He had never understood the Force, and as they had grown older together, that confusion had turned into rejection, a growing hatred, and then something far worse.
yeah.
And the other thing too is like it keeps mentioning is like when she goes into chapter 2 and she's on this mission, like bro, it's like she's such like a lone ranger, like solo dolo, like she doesn't want to be part of like a team doing something, which is why when Dan Powell tells her to go talk to Cree, she doesn't want to because she doesn't want to have to work with somebody else.
Yep, and she can't trust him because she's told that this guy's greedy, and she always like she always pays, the master always pays to help his greed, but then that master isn't good either. I forget. So she's sitting with Tree, like, while she's doing the actual mission, because in between this, they actually flash back again. They start talking about the journey and how they got there. And then they pretty much warn us that, like, hey, us getting to this temple is the thing that doomed Dale forever. Then we're back to present life where she's with Tree and she thinks she's being followed. And she's trying to, like, read Tree's mind, but for some reason she's closed off. And then she looks at him and notices that something's wrong. And she just goes, Tree, what's been done to you? And then he just goes, just another slave spy used by the Jedi. And then she's like, you're altered? Like genetics? And then he's like, deep and permanent. And she goes, no Jedi would do that. And he goes, ha. And then like he spit. And then she goes, and then what she says there is that she didn't want to finish her sentence and say forbidden, which is what she was going to say. It says because she has an ongoing alchemy experiment going on in her ship, and she knew that some Jedi would frown on that. What is considered forbidden to some was exploration for others. So the person that like told her to go find Dan Powell, because that's what he says other, like, I'm Dan Powell's toy. And which obviously Dan Powell was completely lying about, because she was like, oh, he's greedy, so I'll do whatever. But like, it's like, I'm actually doing genetic experiments on this guy because he lets me pay him, but like, it's gone too far. So it was just interesting that like she kind of hid that from him, like, oh, go find Tree, like he'll be able to like help you with this. He's not really to be trusted, but as long as you pay, he'll do what you want. And then that kind of like gets bogged down because like she feels like she's being watched during this time. So Tree's like, I have something I need to do. I have to go meet up with a stargazer, but I cannot have a Jedi following me, especially because like I think she has a star. Like they kept saying it's a star and a sword that lets everybody know that she's a ranger.
Yeah, she's got a badge, I think, like thing that clips to her cape. So you can see here she's kind of got this like loose trousers, almost like a little bit of a tunic going. And then I guess she gets a cape that goes over it. Because it's talking about the badge she clipped to her.
Yeah, and I think they
star.
show it on that new cover too, like right next to her sword, like above her head.
No, I think that's the thing that she's talking about in like the middle of the temples, maybe. Let me see if I can find what that's called.
Do you see that she was able to force punch a bird and just kill it?
Yeah, so I wrote down every time there was like a force power.
And then she was like super confident, but then couldn't do it again.
Well, she was
because her
super
mind-
confident, and then like a different creature showed up and she just froze.
And then that's when the blaster got pulled out. And I was like, now we have blasters. We have a hollow. We have blasters. We have a ship. And I was like, this wasn't really what I was hoping for 25,000 years before the Battle of Yemen.
Right. And the fact that she was like, it's an old, dusty, like fucked up blaster that like doesn't work and can't be trusted.
Yeah, it was her grandfather's blaster.
Yeah.
And we don't know how long.
Yeah, so they get
Typhonian
ambushed
for.
in the forest by hook hawks who like attempt to hypnotize them, and they're running from that.
Yeah, they
And
gouge
so
your
it
eyes out.
literally, bro, it literally says right here, a single hook hawk drifts down, slow and casual, still singing as it aims its claws for Dal's eyes. Lenore punches wildly, and in her panic, she feels the force flailing within her. It is against everything she has learned, but she doesn't have time to berate herself, and it scratches her hand as she punches it. But then right after that, the bird comes back and like looks towards her, and it says Lenore reaches out and force slaps it aside. So she's just like, bitch!
Yeah, she said that she can like feel the wings like crunch or whatever. I don't know if it was in that moment. But
this time her hand hardly touches the creature, barely a kiss of feathers across her fingertips. But the impact is much greater. Bones crackle, and with a single weak cry, its body disappears into some other growth, leaving only a few feathers dancing in the air.
Bro, could you imagine if Vader fucking force slaps somebody?
Force bitch slaps somebody and just crunched all their bones? And then the birds come back, and right after this, and it says Lenore stands and sends an air-splitting force punch their way. Two creatures are knocked from the sky with broken wings and ruptured innards, and a third is smashed into a tree trunk in an explosion of feathers.
Which, when it said that, I was thinking of, and I know you like sports, I was thinking of Randy Johnson hitting that seagull.
And then the crazy thing is, after this, it like talks about how she wants them to come back, even though she's so terrified and scared of them. Like
yeah,
she
instead
relishes.
they get a lizard.
Bro, she relishes combat. Like, she wants to kill things. Like,
Yep.
it's crazy.
Yeah, but instead they get spooked by a lizard, and then
Yeah.
he has to shoot it. I think
And then,
four total times.
and then the other thing too is like it says here, it's like she's prideful and like it gets distracted by it. It goes, pride swells once again. She tries to push it down because pride is distracting. And then they're sleeping and the Silic lizard attacks. And it's kind of a crazy description. And I read through this and like still have no idea what the hell actually even happened. A Silic lizard, rare but deadly, these silicon-based creatures absorb energy from the sand itself, but have been known to supplement their diets with mammalian spinal fluid. The size of a human adult, they are viciously spiked beasts, six-limbed, and capable of charging on their hind legs.
I just don't know, like, silicone?
So what it is it's a human-sized silica packet.
Is this just a toy just charging at him?
Right, and then it just talks about how the lizard's like crackhead running around him, and then her brother shoots it.
Yeah.
And misses. And she's mad because she wants to say, so it goes, Dale is holding his laser blaster. Its muzzle still warm. No, she wants to say, because she is meant to protect him. Her limbs quiver in fright as she starts to draw in her senses and balance herself within the forest. The darkness beyond Dale sparkles with 100 dancing stars. And then it comes back and it goes, the Silic lizard spins a full circle as it powers from the darkness. It hits the ground close enough for Lenore to kick. So now she's just missing the force kick ability.
Yep.
Dale's gunfire and the creature fall are silent. And then it goes, now though, it has saved them both. After talking about that blaster, like we had said, the lizard's head hangs by a thread. Its blood is dust.
Yeah. They beheaded the lizard and hung its head up, just let the blood drip out. These people are wild. So when she first meets Tree not only, and I wonder if that's one of his genetic mutations, is that like he has the third Leku.
But even before that, bro, the Master Dila Jean Marola in 3533 TYA, that
Yeah.
opening to chapter 3 is an interesting quote here.
Also, yeah, let's talk about the TYA thing real quick.
Oh my god.
Stop. like, well, I already forgot what it's like, what it means, but it's
couldn't
so
be
dumb,
bothered.
dude. Like, I was like, why not like BBY or
So
like
your arrival. I love the fucking opening quote of this book. It goes, at the heart of any poor soul, not at one with the Force, there is only void. Unknown Jedi, 2545 TYA.
yeah.
Okay.
Like, dude, that's
but
completely different than like what I created with Nerd. I was like, hey, if Anakin is the Jesus of the Jedi, then we should just use BBA, like or like ABA before and after the birth of Anakin. But like now we got fucking TYA,
Yeah.
and then like if you watch Marvel, you're gonna have the TVA.
Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the third chapter, which is the last chapter we read, it says, not every journeyer will complete their great journey. Some will fall victim to Tython's many dangerous landscapes or creatures. Some will lose themselves, foreshadowing.
Yep.
Some may even lose their way in the Force and leave Tython far behind, which I think represents her as well.
Yes.
Scattering out to the system, lost in a much more fundamental way. But as Jedi, we must accept this because this is not an existence of absolutes. Life is a challenge, and facing that challenge is what makes the good great. So it almost, in a way, seemingly damns the Jedi currently in this era because it's saying, like, people are going to leave the system, but we shouldn't be concerned with it. But yet, that's all we're concerned about.
And also, like, how do all these different species get the Tython? Like, we got Wookiees who are from Kashyyyk.
Well, that's the thing that they were saying. The only human people on Tython, I think, are the Jedi. Because when she goes to this other planet, what is it, Kalimar? She's like talking about how it's so much more racially diverse than anything she's ever experienced.
Yeah.
Let me see.
But while you're looking for that, this part right here, I think this is kind of like what pissed me off in the book. People like, and I've seen it on like Twitter and Threads and YouTube or whatever. People don't like when actual curse words are used in Star Wars books or in Star Wars.
I saw that
in
shit.
Star Wars media, and like they like the Etuta and the Dank Farrik and stuff like that. But in this one, Tree is speaking in his language, And she just goes, "Yeah, well, this bitch is a Jedi." And he's like, Twi'leki? And she's like, "Of course, that surprises you." It's like, bro, and I think that's like, I think she says something else like right after that too. And I'm like, dude, why are we using the word bitch?
Yeah, here it is. There were hundreds of people there, a varied mix of the many species who had spread out from Tython to colonize the system. Humans and Wookiees mingled with their prominent headtails and red-skinned Sith. Near human Zabrak with their vestigial horns walked alongside the Iktachi, whose heavy horns gave them a fearsome appearance. Kalamar had been the first planet settled after Tython and its moons, and remained the most racially mixed and diverse. So,
Yeah. So only
and
the
then the other
Jedi
thing
don't
too is
leave.
like it was saying she knew well enough that some Kalamar thought themselves above the Jedi.
I found the other word. So when they're drinking at the bar, her and Tree, she goes, "I don't know how much more of this piss I can take."
Literally, bro. Also, in that moment, right, I was keeping down force powers, right? So before that, it talked about she cast her force sense all around. There were so many people that her thoughts were confused. So, like, she can force sense, I guess.
Yeah.
And then after that, she was like drinking the local wine, and it was an incredibly strong, but she used a gentle force flow to make sure the potent drink did not impede her senses. So she's just got like a force decanter power built within her where she can make the alcohol less potent.
I can turn your wine into grape juice.
Yeah, this is nice piss phantom drinking.
Yeah. Actually, so she lessens the effect and then bitches about it.
Well, yeah, and then the other thing too that they're talking about here is, this is supposed to be different planet, different galaxies with different things going on. And this guy goes, the sea beef is very good here. So you have sea cows? They're just eating fucking
Like
manatees on Calamar?
SpongeBob, like a sea bear attack.
Yeah.
The sea beef. Do you mean fish?
The other thing too that was disgustingly weird was when she goes, Lenore probed outward and touched the barman's mind. She took a startled breath. She could never really prepare for experiencing another's thoughts, as the first rush was always overwhelming. But she quickly filtered out the random, the violent, the sick and disgusting, and narrowed to what she thought, what she saw. And then it goes, Trey, so cool, so calm, so red, sitting there with her, that Jedi, and he'd be lucky she'd eat him alive. And it was kind of like, she goes, she knew she was attractive. And if he was thinking of her that way, there was no real harm. So she's force probing this like bar person. And the bar person's like, yeah, Tree's gonna fuck this Jedi. And then she's like, yeah, I'm hot, but like not gonna happen.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, and then after that, they're talking about the Gree technology.
Yeah.
And like the Gree are now even more ancient people. Like they're more ancient than the Jedi. And I was like, so now,
Right. And it was saying here that like the Jedi had been training for 10,000 years at this point already. Because the master was like, even in our 10,000 years of training. I
yeah,
don't know.
it was. And then they're talking about the old city with
But even right before that, it was funny because Tree, like, she was talking about how she couldn't find her brother and heard all these rumors, and I don't even know what planet he's on right now. And he goes, "You can't wait." He waved
yeah,
his
you
fingers
can't
and
like
raised his
wave
arms like
them
that.
in.
Force his location, and he laughs at her, and she just ignores it. And that's when she talks about the piss that she can take.
Yep.
Yeah,
But yeah, they said that Dale had found something that the Gree had left behind, which was
right.
like blueprint
Yep.
to create the hypergate. And it's like, bro, how long has it been since the Gree have existed? Because like she was shocked to learn that the Gree even existed. She was like, Gree? Really? It says so little was known about that ancient people. And it's like, do these ancient people also have blasters, hollows, and everything but lightsabers?
Right, and even going to where you were talking about the altering, what
Yeah.
I wrote down there was like the Master Dan Powell, it said that whatever subtle genetic adaptations she had performed, whatever strange alchemies kept Trey's mind purely his own, but made him very obviously hers, were perhaps immoral yet startlingly brilliant. And I put possibly to avoid him spilling secrets to other people.
Yeah.
So she kind of like closed his mind off to not like allow people like even Dale to just like read his mind to figure out where this shit was.
Yep, and he just wants to make sure the money will keep coming in, and she's like, Master Dan Powell is a Jedi of her word.
Right. And then it talks about how she can use force telepathy when they go to the cutscene back and she's talking to Master Turkai.
Yeah.
Because he can like talk to her through his mind, and she knows a little bit of what her mom taught her, even though her mom's just a poet. And so they're talking in their minds, and it says force telepathy is well known to her, but such control and command must have taken many years of meditation and study to master. And then it says Turkay laughs aloud, and Lenore smiles sidelong at Dale. He's frowning. He didn't hear a thing. Like she could do the force talking to people and somehow to him, but yet this master couldn't reach him through telepathy.
I don't think the master wanted to. Like, she had to convince the master to try, and he was like, yeah, I guess I'll do it. But yeah, because
I know
after the
that
bar
part.
scene and she feels like she's being followed, she gets back to her ship, and then again we flash back to their training.
Yeah, she goes, he's slow with the force, she sends, and she knows that Master Turkay hears, but he wants to learn. No, Master Turkay says, I sense no eagerness in him, only resistance, no delight, only suspicion. And then she says, he'll do his best. And then Master Turkay goes, if he will do his best, then so will I. But Lenore already hears his doubt. It seems to echo her own.
Yep. And then the last thing that happened so that she can try to get him on board is that she touches his mind for the first time. Like, she was like, oh, it's getting through, like, and then next thing you know, Dale just like squeezes her hand so tight that like she can feel her bones grinding together. Like, he's pretty much like, don't you fucking do this ever again. Like, I will immediately crush you. And
then he
that's why, like,
closes his
he
mind off.
knows, like, he can feel it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he wasn't force sensitive, he wouldn't know this was happening, I think.
Well, and
Because,
even
like, the
right
bar
before
hop
that.
or, like, the bartender didn't know,
Right.
like, that she was doing it, but he could feel it, and it bothers him.
And even in the beginning, like, she could sense people coming up, but he didn't sense her coming up behind him.
Yeah.
But right before that, even the Master Turkay tries to probe his mind and like touches his face and his head.
Yeah.
And he kind of like, so it says,
I think he knows how to close himself off,
yeah, it
but he leaves
says,
himself open to her.
right. He turns away from her and sits close to Dale, holding the boy's hands in his own, touching his cheeks and his temples, and then the master closes his eyes, and Dale's own eyes grow wide. He hears him, Lenore thinks, delighted. He feels the force, and he hears it. Her excitement is short-lived because Dale gets up and kicks the sand at the master and walks away. Yeah, dude, it's weird. It's really weird dynamic that they've got going.
Yeah, he's very, like, closed off, and he's very, like, I don't know what bothers him so badly, or, like, now his mom says, like, he's obsessed with the past, like, he's always been obsessed with this Grease stuff, and I think he wants more from his life, so that's why he doesn't want to, like, do all these things, but, like, yeah, as you said, like, the very last thing we got here at the end of episode 3 was when he looks up at her, she sees the venom of his gaze, she cannot touch his mind again to say sorry.
Yeah, I wrote hatred and anger grow deep within inside of him. And I feel like in a previous wrote I had note was like he can utilize the force not as strongly as her, but he doesn't want his abilities to be controlled by other people or influenced by other people. He just kind of wants to do his own thing. And he's explorative in the same way that the Jedi are explorative, but he wants to explore shit that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's so resistant to it.
I
The
also
other thing I was gonna
don't think
bring
he
up,
wants people to know what he knows.
right. And the other thing that I was going to bring up too was, did you catch, I forget where it is, but it talked about how she had left force manipulations, like fake force field. Like what? Like she leaves mirages so that people can't follow her? Weird. Almost like projecting her own force image of something that's not real. And that's one of the things the master was trying to teach her. I think she was able to project like a creature that was like super unique. And he was like, that's easy because it's very imaginative, but try to force project a rock. And she couldn't do it.
Yeah, it said that like Dan Powell revealed and encouraged the areas of the force of force use at which Lenore was most skilled at metallurgy, elemental manipulation, and alchemy.
Which is like, cool. What does that have to do with being a fucking Jedi?
Yeah.
and she's skilled at metallurgy, but she can't force project a rock back in the day. Yeah, fucking hell, bro. But I don't know. It's interesting. I really wanted to get to a point where we stop going and reading about the useless shit that happened in the past.
Yeah. Well, we're about to continue it too because like she just keeps mentioning like if like this is where we lose them forever. This is where we lose this forever, and it's like,
Well, yeah,
for
I
how
think
many
we're
times are
gonna
you
go
losing them
back to
forever?
that.
Like when can we get to finding him?
Yeah, I wanna get past that point and see where he fell and why. And then because it seems like he from what they were saying earlier is like she found his rags in the old city and they were like, yeah, see, he's the guy that tried to go back there or is trying to go back there. So I kind of want to see the point in which he kind of is sick of this fucking master in the desert and is just like, man, fuck all this shit. I'm gonna go back to the old city.
Yep.
But yeah, we've got 4
4 through
through
8,
8.
right?
Yeah. So should be interesting, but
Yeah, we'll definitely have more in-depth stuff, and then at that point we can definitely. I mean, at no
formulate a
point am I calling it on this book, but like,
no.
I think when we get through chapter 8,
When
we're
we
gonna know
yeah,
where.
we'll be here in the book.
Yeah,
So
a little less than
if it
halfway.
doesn't get good by 8, it might not get good. Or it might get good between 17 and 19, and then we're gonna be like, oh, we want more of this book. And like, ha, there's nothing.
Yeah, you got nothing because this is, and I keep saying it, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that this was like the last Legends novel.
So I'm on Reddit. It says, what was the last Legends material produced before the new canon, and which was the first of the new canon? Somebody says, last Legends was Honor Among Thieves by James S.A. Corey on 3/04/2014. First new canon was Rebels Ezra's Gamble by Ryder Wyndham on 8/5/14.
It's interesting that that one's the new one because A New Dawn, which has an excerpt for Dave Filoni, that gives you like a whole detail thing of why the Legends continuity was disbanded.
Yeah,
Or
because they're
why they
talking
did
about
it.
EU, like expanded universe is like the Legends thing. So yeah, and it's crazy because Honor Among Thieves came out 3 months after Mall Lockdown.
Mall Lockdown. I have to get to that one too. That one sounds fun. I always thought the weirdest thing for me for Star Wars was that Maul even came back. I was okay with him being one and done.
I get it though, because as we saw in like Rebels and Clone Wars, is like Maul knew what was gonna happen, but was powerless to stop it.
Yep. But I think with that being said, that wraps our discussion here of chapters 1, 2, and 3 of Dawn of the Jedi. Next week, we are going to be discussing chapters 4 through 8. So thanks for hanging out with us here on Datapads and Darksabers, the Star Wars Book Club, hosted by myself, Clone Force 97, and Wrath the Mandalore. And we want to hear your thoughts about these chapters. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll be reading them. We'll be responding. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to Wrath of Mandalore. Don't forget to subscribe to Clone Force 97. Make sure you turn on notifications. Make sure you hit that like button. All that good stuff so we can keep this content coming to you. And we will see you next week. May the Force be with you always.